In today's episode, we have with us Eddy Miranda, who has done some amazing things in adjusting and optimizing sales systems, bringing in an extra $100,000 in sales in just 2 months from the tweaks that he's made. So stick around. It's going to be a great episode. If you want to build a legitimate, profitable online business without shiny objects, without the hypey gimmicks, and without the stress and overwhelm, if you want to make more money without having to be present online all day, every day, pumping out content that nobody sees and hustling DMs to generate leads and sales, then this is the place for you. Welcome to the Digital Trailblazer Podcast, your online business university, where you'll learn how ordinary people start from ground zero with no influence, no email list or audience to sell to, and no business or marketing experience, and go from working 9-to-5 jobs to building successful 6- and 7-figure online businesses and all the steps in between. Learn the strategies that worked and what didn't. Learn the mistakes that they made and how to avoid them, and then learn their plans for scaling their businesses and taking things to the next level. All so that you can build your business faster and easier and make more money without sacrificing the things that are important to you in your life. I'm your host, Leah Ray Getz, and with me is my husband, Todd. Now let's get to it with today's guest. Hey, Digital Trailblazers. Welcome Eddy Miranda to the show. We are super excited to have you with us today.
Leah and Todd, it's a pleasure to be here with you guys. I'm super excited to be able to talk with you guys and share as much value to your audience as possible.
Before we dig into all of the meat and potatoes, what we really want to get into, let's give a little context for the audience. Let them know who you are, what you do.
Yeah, absolutely, Leah. So basically, my background spans about 20 plus years of marketing. I basically have a slew of skills that I've gathered over the years. I started as a graphic designer, went into web development, and then starting my own design business, I got a little bit into marketing, but really didn't know what that was about. I've even started social media platforms that I've built up to 100,000 followers, so on and so forth, and even dug in deep into funnels, ads, drop shipping, and even learning how to do marketing with LLMs. But with all my skill sets in 2022, I had the opportunity to work with a humongous player in the game. And I always said, I've been an entrepreneur for years. I never wanted to work for anybody else. And there was only 2 people that I would give up my remote life for. And that would be for Russell Brunson at ClickFunnels or Grant Cardone and working with his brands. And I so happened to have the opportunity to actually work with Grant Cardone. So in 2022, I got hired there as a creative ad specialist. But because of all my background and what I knew how to fix funnels and marketing processes and running ads, they saw those skill sets in me. And within 3 to 5 months, I got to be ahead of Grant's real estate projects, which as a digital marketing manager for all his real estate funnels, webinars, events, everything like that. So I handled all that stuff, got them amazing results because that particular silo was losing a lot of money in the front end. And when I got my hold of it, we went from losing $1 million in the front end to making $20,000 in profit just in our funnels every single month, and then getting record-breaking webinars and outselling his events with the strategies I've been able to implement. From there, I worked for an agency called Contractor Independence, where there I took all the skills that I learned from working with Grant, apply them to this particular business, and we doubled the revenue within 3 months from $50,000 to $100,000 in initial revenue. From there, I started working with Brandon Turner, which is another real estate mogul. And in that business, I actually helped them set up self-liquidating offers. I fixed their sales process with their video sales letters, going from a direct to purchase to implementing a sales team. And that exact same thing I was actually able to do for HO Pro Tools, which they were on autopilot when it came to their marketing efforts, came in, saw what was kind of missing. Because of all my experience, I kind of knew where all the little holes and gaps that they were kind of missing with all their marketing, made all those changes, went from a home page to a book a call page, converted everything to a video sales letter funnel, and was able to start implementing all those tactics that I've learned before into that particular business that helped us scale to an additional $100,000 in monthly recurring revenue. But when we got in there and in that particular business, I saw that, one, they had to fix their client journey, right? Like I saw in that particular instance that since everything was on autopilot, everything was going to a homepage with multiple buttons, the customer journey wasn't clear. And we were losing a lot of revenue. People were poking around. Like we were able to see the customer journey go from Meta ads to searching on Google. 4 weeks later, they come in, they'll actually purchase it. We wanted to shorten the gap on that. So we implemented a full book a call funnel for them. And what ended up happening with that is, one, we shortened the customer journey. It went from 4 weeks to anywhere from 7 to 14 days. And now what ended up happening too is that while we were able to get people on calls, help them with their objectives, help them, close the deal much quicker, and actually sell higher ticket products to the customers that were coming in, which allowed us to be able to scale. So looking at my background, basically understanding how the customer journey was going, I was able to lock into what was going on in that particular business and pick out all the little nuances that I knew that we could fix in order for us to be able to scale the business.
That's interesting. So, and just for context, to make sure that I got it right and the audience is following as well. So their base offer is software based, correct? And then there was additional service opportunities that were the higher ticket upsells.
Yeah. So for that particular model, they have basically almost a 4-tier product, right? So it's completely SaaS. What they do is that they do white label service for Go High level users. So if you need anything with support or onboarding clients or whatever, as far as an agency or as a coach or as a SaaS owner, they implement their entire team in order to help you with your clients. So with that, they have 3 different tiers. They have a lower tier, mid tier, and a higher tier. And what usually ended up happening, people really didn't know what tier they were getting. Sometimes they'll get the lower tier. They weren't satisfied. That really wasn't what they needed. So what the shift was for them to jump on the call and for them to be able to have a discussion with a sales rep to make sure that they're making the right decision. And with that, that's actually helped us get clients from churning a lot less and keeping them for a lot longer into the product.
That was going to be my next question is actually the retention rate, because it makes sense that now if they're making the right choice up front, their satisfaction is going to be a lot higher. Do you have any data on that? I'm just curious.
No, I mean, as far as like our churn has gotten better. Now, yes, with our sales process, it has gotten better in getting people onboarded, but you have to realize when it comes to churn, and this we had also an issue with when I was working for Brandon Turner as well. It's not a lot of the front end. Yes, they could come in, talk to a salesperson. They're really, really happy, but it's all the support and the customer support and how you deliver everything to the customer is how they prevent from churning. So a lot of times when it comes to churn, it's a lot of more internal processes that need to be changed around or fixed in order for you to keep the client for longer. Now, if you put the product in a position that, hey, they can't utilize anything else without using us, then that will also prevent churn as well. But as far as the data, yes, we have improved churn, but a lot of the leverage that kind of happened with that was on the actual support side and how the deliverables were for the actual clients that helped us keep the churn from being so drastic.
What you're talking about right now, it's really interesting to us because when I think back to like the very beginning of our online business journey, one of the first things we were involved with was network marketing and actually selling a software subscription. And it was a higher ticket thing. It was like $150 a month for that software subscription. And when we first tried selling it, like it was exactly like what HL Pro Tools was doing, where it was just like a VSL going direct to sale. You watch the VSL, there's a button to click and they can, pick up and join. And so we were trying to sell that and we were making maybe a couple $1,000s a month in commissions doing it that way. But then when we switched things up and we kind of introduced our own funnel, and instead of having people go direct to purchase, we had them actually book a call with us, or we would even just pick up the phone and call our leads. But having that phone conversation just catapulted us from, just $1,000 or $2,000 a month in commissions to suddenly making $20,000 plus in commissions within just a matter of 3 weeks. And that was recurring revenue for us. And that was what really helped us to go from doing this as a part-time side gig to actually just going full-time in our business and being able to live off this and quit our jobs and everything else. So I totally see the power in what it is that you're doing. With that VSL direct-to-sale model that was going on before, I know that a lot of coaches and course creators, or a lot of coaches, high-ticket coaches, are trying to do that with their funnels right now, where it's not necessarily direct purchase, but it's VSL to like book a call. But for VSL to direct to purchase, Do you see a price point where that works really well, or is that something that's not really working so well either?
Well, the thing is, like, I have two great examples of just that. Like, I did that with Brandon Turner. Like, their product was a $300 monthly subscription versus like HO Pro Tools. You have a 97, you have a 297, and then you have an 897, which is 3 different tiers. And what ended up happening on both instances is that we will get a lot of people opting in, passing the survey, getting qualified, landing on the sales page. But then people usually have questions. They have objectives and things like that that need to get handled. So what ends up happening is that they'll land on that page, but then they won't purchase, right? And I kind of see this a lot with just SaaS particular and monthly recurring revenue kind of models, that at the end of the day, I've seen the benefit of going straight to a sales call. So yeah, I mean, I basically seen this in a couple of different instances, that when it comes to monthly recurring revenue, like, especially if it's something more than like a $97, or if it's not a particular SaaS company like a Zapier or an Asana or a Monday, right? Like, people don't have trust in paying you monthly every single month, right? They want to know what they're kind of getting into. So when I entered both those companies and saw that, I was like, man, we could just be like switching this, making sure that we have a sales team. Sales team can handle those objections and be able to close them a whole lot quicker than just going direct to purchase. And I think that that's what happened with both companies, right? They were like, let me just set this on autopilot. I'm hoping and dreaming that I can make enough sales in order to be able to get the people coming in as much as possible. But when I saw that one, Brandon Turner's team was only making like 3 sales a week, and I'm like, we have 10 people landing there a day, but we're only getting 3 sales a week. That's a problem, right? And when I saw it with HO Pro Tools, one, yeah, they already had a sales team set up, but the way that they had the sales team set up was they were fielding support questions. Like, people were just calling them just so they weren't even jumping on sales calls. And how the homepage was set up, it was set up with a few different paths, right? Like, they had a checkout, they had, hey, a book a demo. They had too many things going on that particular page that didn't allow for a clear path in order to get the people to sign up. So yeah, with a monthly recurring revenue, definitely I highly suggest that if you are planning to scale this and wanting to be able to get enough sales in order for you to be able to be in a position to be able to generate more revenue, get more people onto your staff, get more clients, then you definitely want to be able to push that through to a sales team that knows the product very intimately, uses the product themselves, and is able to actually sell it very much quicker than going to a direct-to-purchase process.
With that process, can you give us some numbers as to the increase in close rates? So, for example, the one company was only doing 3 sales a week. What did they go to after you implemented the sales team?
Yeah, so after that was particularly for Brandon Turner's team. So with that particular team, what happened is like they were having 3 sales a week, direct to purchase. The moment we switched to a sales team that had a good enough knowledge about the product and was constantly getting calls, they went to 4 sales a day. So that basically, that was a huge leverage. And for them to be able to get clients into their basically monthly subscription coaching program with a SaaS product attached to it. With HO Pro Tools, it was in the same vein. The sales team wasn't getting that many calls. We were making sales, but because of what we were able to do, one, the sales team was able to start closing. I mean, we have one of our sales reps closing like at 60%, which is really unheard of. Like, if you get 30%, that's amazing. But our sales reps are closing at 60% because now we're getting people onto a call. And again, the revenue shows for it. Like, we have a monthly recurring revenue. We look at basically upfront revenue as a whole. We went from probably making $100,000 to making $250,000 in initial revenue upfront within like 2 months span.
Wow, that's incredible. Yeah, and I know that just adding that little bit of personal touch, that little bit of outreach can do a ton for your business. Now, I think one of the questions may be, or one of the things that, like for us, when we started actually just picking up the phone and calling our leads, obviously at that time when we were doing that business model with the affiliate marketing and the software subscription, we were talking to a lot of unqualified people, and I can imagine that if people are booking calls themselves, you might end up with a lot of unqualified people as well. So was there an application in there or some sort of a survey that they fill out before they jump on a call, or do you qualify people in any way?
Yeah, absolutely. So I got a slew of stories about qualifying leads. There was a particular company I worked with, Contractor Independence, that their main goal was to generate more revenue. One of the tactics that I actually utilized with them was that I actually started qualifying people on the ad side. So this particular company, they were in 4 different niches, all contractors, remodelers, plumbers, roofers, HVAC people. And they were having a hard time. They were like getting a lot of tire kickers and a lot of people that just didn't fit the mold for the kind of business that they want, the type of people that they wanted. So one particular thing that I did for them was qualify people on the ad side. So instead of calling out remodelers as a whole, I started calling out remodelers that generated $500,000 in revenue or more per year. That alone was the ticket to get us to doubling their revenue. In fact, they actually still use that exact same messaging and framework in the ads that I built for them to this day because it works. Like I literally saw the ads the other day. It's like, oh, remodelers for 500,000 or more. I'm like, they're still using it today, which is awesome. But people like Brandon Turner and HR Pro Tools, yes, we did do hard qualifiers and change the audience or the niche inside of the ads. Like you have to get very, very specific with the kind of people that you want. A lot of people misconstrued it in the sense of like, oh, I have to do my targeting in a specific way and this and that. No, like what you really have to do is like you really have to focus on calling out your avatar inside of the ads. So if you're going to be going for online coaches, you have to go for online coaches in a particular niche that generate this much revenue, right? You start narrowing down, you're pretty much qualifying them from the ad side. And then yes, for every single video sales letter funnel that I build, there is a survey and it's a strict survey. And what we do with that survey is 1, you want to make sure that you have the financial, but they have the finances. 2, they have the problem that you can solve. And 3, that they have a product that is sellable, that you know that you could generate revenue much easier for them. So with that, what we did is not only did we qualify them specifically on that survey, but what we did is that we qualified or disqualified people and we sent people to different pages or a different process. So for HR Pro Tools, the process that we have is that if people get qualified and they meet every single aspect in the questions that makes them a qualified prospect, they'll go to a 1-call sale direct to a salesperson. But if they didn't meet those qualifications and are disqualified, they'll actually go to a 2-call close. So that means they'll meet with a setter first. That setter will additionally qualify them even further, and then we'll hop onto a sales team. So with Contractor Independence, what we did is that the people that did get disqualified, they actually went to like a gut check page. When that gut check page, what it did was basically, hey, this is what the product is. This is what it all entails. This is your financial investment. And if you guys are still inclined in order to do this, then here, book a call. Because usually what ends up happening in that particular instance is that, yeah, maybe they're starting off their roofing company. Maybe they're starting off their remodeling company. But maybe they have an investor with financial backing that allows them to actually pour into the company for them to start generating revenue. So just because of the qualifying questions of financials, like, well, I'm not generating revenue, but I'm starting this business, and that disqualifies them. But maybe they do have the financial backing because they have investors or they already have capital involved with it that they can make the investment into the product. So those are the kinds of things that's like when we qualify through the ad side, making sure that we're getting the right prospects to click into the ad and to see the video. And secondly, we qualify very, very hard on the survey and basically fork them into a different process depending on how they're qualified.
Yeah. Wow. Lots of golden nuggets in there. With those ads, did you notice a difference in the cost of your leads or the cost per click or, the ad cost when you made that change?
Absolutely. So the thing is like a lot of people really like to harp in on metrics like a cost per lead or a cost per book call. And the thing is like, you could go and get the cheapest cost per book call as possible, but are those the exact people that you want actually coming through? And I think that that's really like a misconception that a lot of people try to like really focus in on. Like, I want the cheapest cost per book call, but at the end of the day, they're probably not even the qualified people that are supposed to be coming in for your product. So yeah, like as far as cost per book call, once you start qualifying them even further, yes, your cost per book call will go up, your CPMs will go up, your CPC will go up. But at the end of the day, what really matters when it comes to metrics is your LTV to CAC, right? Like if you have that metric really, really solid and you know what your true cost to acquire a customer is, which is things like the sales team, the commission for the sales team, anything that you had to do in order to get that customer in, the cost for the ads, your overhead, things like that, getting that and then understanding where your lifetime value of the customer is, that's a metric that you really should be focusing on, especially with an MRR kind of model that really dictates on how much more money you can kind of spend. So don't be looking at like the cost per se at the upfront, because at the end of the day, the better quality people are going to cost you a little bit more. But at the end of the day, if you're able to close a whole lot more, then that means your revenue actually skyrockets just because you pay just a little bit more, maybe $50 or $100 more for that prospect to come into the door. But at the end of the day, it probably increased your revenue probably 2 or 3 more fold in comparison.
Yeah. And that's what allows you to scale too, is getting more qualified people in
exactly
on the front end. And it seems like, and you mentioned this, like with your sales team, like a lot of people aren't to the place yet where they have a sales team, but once you start building a sales team, if you focus on just getting in the cheapest leads possible, I mean, the thing is your sales team works on commission, right?
Mm-hmm.
And if you're filling up their calendar, yeah, that may look exciting that, oh yeah, we booked all these calls today. But if half of them are no-shows and then, the other half is unqualified, nobody has the money, I mean, things are going to go downhill really quick, and people are going to figure out that working for you is not, they're not going to be able to support their family by working for you. And then you're going to have good people quit your business because you're not doing that qualification on the front end. The other thing I was going to say, and I forgot to mention this earlier, so that company that went from 3 sales per week to 4 sales per day, it's like a 933% increase in revenue. Which is crazy. But that's the other thing too, is that's another thing that allows you to scale, because now that makes paid ads affordable, right? Yep. You can pay for your paid ads. Whereas a lot of people, like if you're only making 3 sales per week, you're not running paid ads to do that. You're still kind of stuck relying on organic traffic, or you're doing prospecting, networking, and you're doing that whole hustle. So that's what I really like about what you're doing, is that it increases your profitability so much that now you can afford to run paid ads. It saves you time. It brings more money in, more traffic in, and you can actually scale. So all these things that you're talking about, as far as the return on investment, the qualifying your leads on the front end, qualifying them with the application, sending them to different places depending on what their answers are to see if we can send them straight to because a closer gets paid a lot more and their time is a lot more valuable than a call setter, right? So that's why you would send them one place versus the other. Because we do the same thing. We'll do the exact same thing, is that depending on what they answer on the application on the front end, we may send them to a different place. I love what you're doing, and I love how this is, just to see the numbers and profitability.
So I think it's interesting because a lot of people have wrapped their heads around sales calls and sales teams for high ticket. This is really adjusting that conversation and now bringing this into the low ticket membership type reoccurring revenue world. So any advice on like the commission structure or anything, if you're going to have sales team members, because folks are used to, having their large high ticket stuff going through, but now we're talking small, reoccurring, all of that stuff. The adjustments or thoughts around going from high ticket into low ticket reoccurring.
I mean, I think the misconception is that like when you jump on a sales call is that it's just supposed to be low ticket. When these prospects jump on a sales call, what initially is going to get pitched is actually the higher ticket thing. So it could be, if you're thinking like maybe you have a $300 monthly recurring revenue product, well, you're probably trying to sell the annual membership first, right? So you have to think about it in that aspect first of all, because to make it worthwhile for a sales guy in order to jump on a call, to get out of bed, they're going to want to sell a higher ticket thing. So for instance, like if you do a $300 thing, that's probably going to be $3,000 for the entire year, given the fact that you're probably going to cut like 10% off of that because they're paying up front. So you're going to be going in there technically higher ticket to try to sell a $3,000 membership for the entire year. Then if they don't get that, then that's when you start downselling them for maybe every 6 months or every month, or maybe they don't fit that one and you have something lower, right? So the intent is always to be able to sell something a little bit bigger, but at the end of the day, they can come down into something that's a much more manageable payments, in which in that aspect, it depends on the company as far as commission is concerned. I've seen 15% for sales closers. I've seen 5% for setters. And that kind of changes from business to business and how they want to be able to maneuver that. But the intent is always going to be, I'm always going to try to sell this higher ticket thing. And then if they have objections, or maybe they're not financially capable in order to pay that full thing up front, then that's when they'll downsell them into a monthly thing, or maybe something a little bit lower. So for instance, for HO Pro Tools, the main goal is always to try to sell them the Elite package, which is an $897. They try to get them in for the year. They even try to sell them for something that's Platinum, which is even more custom build stuff, right? But now if the client doesn't fit that, then that's when they'll sell them the lower ticket thing at either a $297 or a $97 a month, which happens all the time anyways, because we got a slew of people coming in through those calls. But the intent is always to try to sell a higher ticket thing and then to downsell them down into what would normally be a monthly recurring revenue.
And that's another thing, that a lot of the people that we've talked to, the people that we bring on as clients, when they do sales calls, they have this system of either offering the lowest one first, or they give people all their options right away. And that was one of the lessons that we learned pretty early on, that you don't do, is that you don't give people options like that, because as soon as you give them options, then they have a decision to make. When they have a decision to make, then they're not sure. And then suddenly, instead of closing them right there, now, we need to think about it. I'll get back to you. And then they never do. Right.
Yep.
And so that's one of the very first changes we make with our clients is, okay, just offer whatever your signature product is. That's what we're getting people into. And if the answer is no, or there's an objection there, then then we look at other things that might be a better fit. And I like what you said about, instead of a monthly membership, right, we're going for the high ticket thing first, where it's a yearly subscription and they pay annually. And so it's, instead of a $300 thing, it's a $3,000 thing. And I think making that switch, because there's probably a lot of people out here that they may not be selling software, but they're selling a monthly coaching thing that is maybe, a lower ticket, $50, $100 a month or something like that. And you may be thinking to yourself right now, well, I don't want to have to get on a sales call just to make a $50 sale. Well, this is what makes that definitely feasible, because instead of a $50 sale now, maybe you're making a $500 sale or a $1,000 sale, and it's a yearly recurring subscription that way. And so, that's definitely worth jumping on a sales call for. As far as this whole process goes, I know that the way that you're doing it, you're hiring a sales team and all that. Do you think that this is feasible for someone that's just a solopreneur to start themselves, or do they need to be at a place where they can bring on a sales team in order to be able to do this?
No, I mean, as a solopreneur, you're wearing all the hats at the end of the day, right? And what you need to do is, like, before you even start implementing the sales team, is that you need to, first of all, know the product yourself, which of course you're passionate about it. You're the one selling it. You're the one that's putting it out there into the world that people want to be able to get this, right? But you have to be able to go through the motions yourself. You're the one that has to build the funnel. You're the one that has to do the video, do the scripts for it, making sure that every point that you're making in the message hits accordingly to what your ideal prospect is. And you're the one that has to go on the setting calls, and you're the one that has to go on the sales calls. And the thing is, you as a solopreneur, is crucial for you to be able to do that, because now you know exactly what objections are going to be handled on a sales call. You know what questions every prospect has. You could change and alter your product based off of the feedback that you're getting off of the sales calls. And then once you are able to scale this to get to a point that, hey, I'm profitable, I could get at least another sales guy commission-based because I'm getting enough leads coming in, then you could teach them everything about the product. Because at the end of the day, the person that's best to sell the product is always the owner of the product, or the person that actually built the product. You know the ins and outs of the product. You know what's involved with it, what's not. You've tested the message. You know what works. You know what doesn't. And you are now going to be able to pass that on to a salesperson. You can't have a salesperson come in at the very beginning of the process. They're still trying to figure it out. You don't know what's hitting, what's not. And what ends up happening is that you're going to get a frustrated sales guy that is just going to be like, screw this. I'm like, I don't know what it is that you're doing. I can't make any sales because the messaging's all over the place. and they're going to leave you. At the end of the day, you're going to have to go back and making those sales calls yourself, right? So yeah, definitely you want to be able to tackle this on your own as much as possible to get it to the point that, hey, I got all the mechanics of this done. My systems and my processes are set. My messaging is nailed down. I'm on these sales calls. I'm getting 30% close rate myself on these sales calls. I'm making enough money. Now I've got so many clients that I cannot jump on sales calls anymore, that now I need to bring in a sales guy. So I wouldn't suggest bringing in a sales guy. I will tell you to handle it on your own. You're the salesperson. You're the one that knows the product intimately. And once you get to a position that you have enough clients that you can't even jump on sales calls anymore, then that's when you should actually make the move and to get somebody that's qualified, teach them everything about the product, making sure that they know it intimately, and pass it on to somebody that you could trust that now can start generating the revenue while you're working on helping your clients and scaling your business on other fronts.
Yeah, that's very well said. That's exactly the advice that we would give to somebody else too. That's because that's the thing. Like, so many people want the done for you solution where they don't have to do the work. They don't have to grow as an entrepreneur. They don't have to learn the systems themselves. So many times we get people on a call. The mentality is that I just want to stay in my zone of genius and I want to outsource my marketing to somebody else. And it's like, okay, well, what you're describing right now is you just being an employee of somebody else's business, right? If you don't want to learn how to run the business, if you don't want to learn how to do the marketing and do all the sales and things like that, well, then I'm sorry, but you're just an employee in somebody else's business and nobody's going to do that for you. If they could do that for you, then they would own the business and you'd be the employee, right?
Yep.
So yeah, I love that you made that point. Now, one of the other points that you made earlier on was crafting that customer journey, because in the beginning, people were landing on a website and there was a bunch of things to click on and there wasn't really any direction for them to go. How did you craft that? How did you consolidate that into a definite starting point and then, a step-by-step process to getting people onto, becoming a paying client?
Yeah. So like one of the things that we implemented was a product called Hyros. And with that, once we implemented into all the funnels and all the sales systems that were with that particular company, we started seeing the customer journey. We started seeing where they were kind of going. We knew that they would land on the page, they would leave the page, they would go to a Google search, going around all different places, land back on the same page that they left, because it was, the home page was the landing page for the video sales letter. It was the everything. And we started realizing that people weren't making their choices. They weren't clicking through. They'll opt in to see pricing, then they'll drop off. They'll opt in to go to book a call, then they wouldn't jump on a call. And we're like, okay, like something about this needs to be a little bit more streamlined. So once we got enough data to prove to the point that, hey, this is our customer journey. They're clicking on a meta ad, they're landing on the page, they're falling off because one, there's like, they want to find out more information about the company, because all it was just one sales page. The actual company didn't even have a website. Either way, when they will do Google searches, they'll land on the same page anyways. And I'm like, okay, I'm just still as confused as ever. What do? Do I book a call? Do I see pricing? Do I see reviews? There's just a slew of buttons. And the thing is, for me, like I always go back to what Russell Brunson said. It's like a confused mind always says no, right? So you want to be able to streamline it as much as possible, simplify it as much as possible in their journey. So when I saw what was kind of happening, I'm like, man, we need to change this right away. The very first thing that I implemented when I got there was I took their homepage that they considered their sales page, their homepage, their landing page, everything. There was a slew of everything. And I'm like, okay, I'm going to build this one button, go into a survey, and basically solidify the journey to be more focal in what they had to work on, or where they had to go. And then I just concentrated all the ads to go to that particular page. So now if they do a search, they'll go back to the original homepage that we had set up, where they could kind of see a little bit more, kind of see pricing, but basically just trying to focal point into their journey as much as possible, so that they don't have a confusement about anything. They know what they're looking at. They have all the information right then and there, and they can make their decision much quicker and for them to be able to book a call.
Gotcha. Okay. So it may be a bunch of different sources of traffic, but it's all funneling into the same entry point. And then from there, yeah, I like that concept. Pretty much what, we do and what we tell all of our clients to do. Because it's what we call a Frankenstein business, right? People learn, they take a course, they learn how to do a webinar, then they got a webinar going on over here. And then they take another course, they learn how to do a challenge. And so they try a challenge, and that's going on over here on this side. And then they learn how to do, here's a lead magnet. So they learn how to do a lead magnet, and that's going on over here. But it's not connected. It's all just kind of floating around there. And then people get in there, and then it's a dead end. They don't have a second step in the journey. And so just consolidating all that, putting it into a series of, here's a step one, here's where everybody comes in, here's the next place up to go, here's the next place up to go.
Yeah.
Just makes it so much smoother of a process, and it ends up, with way more conversions on the back end.
And I actually want to add to that too, because I think a lot of one of the mistakes that a lot of coaches or entrepreneurs that have offers and things like that, they're like, more offers, more funnels, more everything. And I think that that's totally the wrong concept to look at a customer journey at the end of the day. Brandon Turner's team was a great example. When I showed up, they're like, we have like 5 different lead gens and this and that. And I'm like, what are you guys doing? Like, you guys need to like centralize this into like one focal point. I basically knocked everything out of the way. I'm like, you don't need this lead gen. You don't need that lead gen. Let's do away with this. And what we actually implemented was like a self-liquidating offer, right? Which was very profitable from day one. We implemented that. And then everybody that came into that particular funnel, we retargeted them to the video sales letter. And now it became more hyperactive buyers coming in through there. So we basically funneled them in through a 2-funnel system that, one, got qualified buyers coming in. And then now we retargeted that entire audience that bought, and then showed them the ads for the video sales letter or for the higher ticket thing. And then the sales process just became a lot more streamlined. Did the exact same thing with HL Pro Tools. Like, we have a free thing, but behind that free thing is actually a paid wall for a workbook or an additional product. So now we will get those people that are coming in as higher intent, and then we'll retarget them with the video sales letter funnel and getting higher quality people coming in through there. So it's all about like how you get them through your journey as well, so you can get higher paying ticket clients.
Gotcha. So when you say retargeting them, you're talking about retargeting with Facebook ads, right?
Yeah, retargeting them with Facebook ads, but then also too, what we also do is that we'll have like an offer sequence at the very end of that as well for that particular funnel. And we'll also direct them to that book a call as well. So yeah, between the ads and between email sequences, we're always trying to drag people back to the higher ticket thing so that we can get higher quality people.
Awesome. Another gold nugget right there. People are kind of waking up that this isn't working anymore. What a lot of people were doing was the Facebook ad directly to the book a call funnel. And yeah, you might book some calls there, but the no-show rate and the qualification rate was incredibly low. People are just not showing. I like what you're doing with the freebie first or the SLO on the front end, and then you retarget with the VSL, because you're targeting much more highly qualified people with your VSL ad.
Yeah, and that was like a strategy that I learned while working for Grant Cardone. Basically, we had like an evergreen webinar, and we had his book funnel, and we actually did it in reverse in that particular instance, because the freebie was technically the webinar, right? Because what ended up happening was that people will come in, opt in free into seeing an 1.5 webinar. I mean, his webinars would run like 4 hours sometimes, but they'll opt in to watch the webinar, and yeah, it will be a direct to purchase for a $9.97 product. But the thing is, once they got through the webinar and they saw the $9.97, like, oh, maybe not. So what we ended up doing is that everybody that opted into that webinar and didn't purchase, we retargeted them with Facebook ads for his How to Invest in Real Estate book funnel. And that book funnel ended up going from like a 1x return on ad spend to a 3x return on ad spend, because we got more qualified, nurtured people coming in through that book. So again, a really, really solid nurturing process for what you're trying to implement is key. And usually I always go with like having a 2-funnel system. A lot of times that could be your social media, and they're really, really nurtured there, and then retargeting specifically those people. But you always want to have a nurture process that will lead them into something higher ticket or to what your real intent is.
A lot of people, they know how to do the first ad on the front end, but they haven't really figured out that second part of retargeting ads. And that's the thing, like, just because somebody says no doesn't mean no, not ever. It just means no, not right now, or no, not yet, or this isn't the right offer. So retargeting those people that are saying no, I love that strategy. So any last words of advice for our audience before we hop off here?
A lot of times people really overcomplicate things at the end of the day, right? Like going back to like what Brandon Turner's team was doing, like, more funnels, more offers, more everything like that. And I think people get overly hyped with shiny object syndrome and try to do too many different things. And I think the key point of this is to simplify as much as possible. Like, don't have as many hoops and hurdles for people to jump through, and just have a clear process that makes it simple and very easy for your quality of people that you want that comes through, and being able to generate the revenue, because things are so simple. Like, there's a reason why a lot of coaches only stick with one offer, because they're hyper focused on that one offer. They know it generates revenue, and they could tweak it and alter it as easily and flexibly as possible so that they could generate more revenue. And they pull a couple levers here and there, and they start 10xing their revenue, tripling their revenue, things like that. So try to keep it as simple as possible. Don't overcomplicate things, and things will actually change drastically in your business.
Well, Eddy, this has been such an awesome conversation. Thank you so much for being here. If people want to connect with you, see more about what you do, maybe get your help, where should they go?
Yeah, so I have a free Facebook group for high-ticket coaches. Basically, what you'll be able to do is that you'll go to eddymiranda.com, EDDY, Miranda, MIRANDA.com/group. And my group is called Sales Thorough Strategies for High-Ticket Coaches. And there is where I actually teach a lot of valuable stuff when it comes to like funnels, ad spend, how you build systems inside, and different methodologies for you to be able to help scale your business when it comes to your offer and having sales teams attached and your systems and processes in order to make sure that you're able to generate the revenue that you're looking for to be able to scale your business.
Awesome. Thank you so much. And we will definitely have the links for all of that in the show notes. So if anybody listening right now wants to check that out, check out our show notes. You can just click right there and it'll take you straight to Eddy's Facebook group. And Eddy, thank you so much for being with us. This was great.
Thank you so much, Todd. It was such a pleasure being with you guys. I greatly appreciated it.
You've been listening to the Digital Trailblazer podcast. For show notes and information about today's guest, head to digitaltrailblazer.com. Now, if you love this episode, if you got some value, make sure you leave us a review and subscribe. And be sure to share this episode with anyone you know who could use help to build their business. Thank you for listening, and we'll see you next time.